Happy holidays. This is the one and only Dane Diesel, and thank you for tuning in. It's been one hell of a year, and just wanted to end on a positive note. Decided to come and join the conversation, as they would say. So we're live from Dane's desk, Dane Live, and before we hop into the topic, I just want to share a quick disclaimer. And that disclaimer is my position, what side am I on? What am I for? What am I pro? I am for objective truth, period, point blank. That's all I care about. That's all I'm concerned with. That's what I'm for. That's what I support. I'm not for any specific person. I'm not for any specific party. I'm solely for just the objective truth, no matter if I feel good or bad about it. The truth is what matters most. So that's all, I'll be striving to talk about and discuss and get at on these episodes. But I understand that, most people, many people, I should say, they have to, be on someone's side from the feel good or bad about whatever they got going on. But for me, again, I'm not for any side, I'm not for any person specifically. I'm just for the objective truth. So as far as I'm concerned, the same way a broken clock is right twice a day, every human being walking the face of the earth is the equivalent to that broken clock. They might be broken, but they will be right about at least something, on a day-to-day basis. So that's really where I'm coming from. So I'm just I'm doing my best, I should say, to be as objective as I can, because, there's contrary to popular belief, the decisions that we make in life were made long before we made them. And until you become aware of that and you acknowledge that and you understand that, then you'll always be a victim of your own circumstances. You'll always be a victim of your own decisions, because you don't understand yet that there's a hidden hand, manipulating. Oh, what's up, Mr. August? Hey, man, can we go live today? Just let me know. You know what I'm saying? I'm ready to lock it down. You know what I'm saying? We gotta get up before the year's out. But as I was saying, there's a hidden hand that's in control of our decision making, and we don't even know about it. We have this illusion of choice, this illusion of decision, but the reality is there's already some program, there's some ad campaign, there's some product marketing, there's, some algorithm, there's some conversation that was already happening well before you decided to make the decision that you made that influenced you to make the decision that you're about to make. So again, that's why awareness is important. Awareness is, paramount. You need to be aware in order to understand, how to combat, the war that's going on for your mind. Because again, the world, our mind is battlefield, and the world is at war for our attention. You know what I'm saying? Like all these companies, all these, like you said, all these brands, all these algorithms, even this thing called social media that we're on a day-to-day basis that I'm coming to you live from. There's an algorithm on this platform that is specifically engineered for us to be the person that the companies want us to be. So in a sense, it's a version of the Matrix. Yes, it is. But that's why awareness is key, and why you learning about yourself and how your mind works and how the world works is always important. So in that note, let's go ahead and talk about the topic. So over the last couple of days, it's been quote unquote Christmas, and people have been doing their thing. However, my granny, she's a big MSNBC watcher. Like I said, you can't go over her house without that being on, and so it's always on when I go over there. So that's when I kind of see what's happening, on the political scene in the world. And so if you've been just tapped in, you probably know right now that there's this big H1B visa fiasco that's been happening. And where from what I was able to gather from my research, it appears that you know, Trump, president-elect, he appointed Elon Musk to as one of his advisors, and the straw that broke the camel's back, from what I can gather, is Elon then appointed a gentleman named Vivek. I can't even pronounce the man's last name. Just know it starts with an R. And he appointed him, and then that's when, like, you know, the fiasco began. And from what I can gather, it appears that like I said, Indian guy, and I don't know if he was Indian American or he was born in India and came to America, but nevertheless, the ultimate point of all this is that we have Elon Musk, not an American, and then we have Vivek, not an American, and they're in these quote unquote positions. Yeah, I can't pronounce my man's name. My bad, bro. But nevertheless, you know, so you know, this appointment ultimately caused a civil war within the GOP, so the Republican platform. And, you know, I thought that was pretty interesting because prior to any of this happening, I vividly remember earlier in the year. Hold on, I take that back. So the Civil War, it seems like it began. So Mr. Musk, we'll just do that. Mr. Musk, he appoints this man, and then, you know, Vivek, and then Vivek then is now, I think he pointed him to some AI position. And so Vivek's now this AI position, and then people within the MAGA base started complaining about it, making posts. You know, they couldn't hold back on the bigotry, and so they start going out. You know what I'm saying? Saying what they saying, and then, you know, you got people coming out against them. People going. So now we got people going back and forth. But here's the only reason why I decided to talk about it, because earlier this year, I vividly remember having a conversation, you know, in these digital streets with people about how the American educational system was trash, how college was a scam. And what I was ultimately getting at is that I understand now that our educational system in America, it is not designed, it is not engineered, it is not geared towards producing individuals, Americans, with marketable skill sets. So, and by marketable skill sets, I mean actual tangible hard skills that they're gonna need to fill jobs of the future. I remember people who used to just, you know, oh my God, you know what I'm saying, you're so wrong, and education is... Now, mind you, I never said education was a scam. I never said education was whack. But I did say that the American educational system and the American college institution system is a scam, because it is not even preparing its citizens with the skills that they need in order to fill the jobs of the future. And now we're seeing that clear as day. And people got their panties in the bunch because of this, you know, because ultimately, in so many words, I believe it was Vivek or Mr. Musk, but one of them basically came out and said that, in so many words, that, you know, Americans, they're not competent enough to fill these tech jobs that need to be filled, so that they, you know, the Mr. Musk, the SpaceX, the Tesla, the Boring Company, you know, all these tech-driven companies that Mr. Musk has, you feel me? Like, he's just like, yo, like the American worker, that ain't it. You know what I'm saying? Like, they not competent enough. They not smart enough. You know, they're not skilled enough to fill the jobs that I need, you know, in order to move this American economy, as well as, you know, this country forward into the future. And that, like you said, Civil War. And from what I can gather, you know, in these digital streets, it appears that you know, that the American, and that's what I found interesting. It's like, so you got Americans. So again, we have a non-American in Mr. Musk, I don't know if Vivek is a non-American or not, or if he was a foreigner. But Nair said you basically have two men from a non-American ethnic culture that are now in American government, high level American government positions, you know, in the position to influence American policy for Americans, telling Americans that they're not good enough. And now Americans is upset about that because it's like, how dare these quote unquote foreigners tell us we're not good enough? You feel me? Like, we're Americans, you know, like, we're the land of opportunity. You know, we're great just because we're great. We just voted to make America great again. So how are you telling us we're not great? And the reality is like your performance report says that we're not great in America. Again, you know, objectively speaking, yes, like, we are not the great people. We're not the great country that we think we are when it comes to our ability to perform, skills, true knowledge. You feel me? Like, our ability to intelligence, you know, we don't really have it like we feel like we are, you know, like we got it. And so again, this has now created a civil war to where you like you said, you know, it's just going down, you know what I'm saying, these digital streets, you feel me? Like, especially on Twitter, it's going down. And so I just was just like, you know what, I got to look into this. And so here are my notes from what I was able to find, you know, in all this debacle. And again, we only have ourselves to be upset at as Americans, because we have allowed the people that we quote unquote voted for to create these policies that allow this concept of a H1B visa to even be in existence. Like, we voted for that. Like, at some point, either we voted for it as the American citizens, or we voted to put somebody in the position to where they could do that. So we did this as American citizens, all right? So let's go ahead and dive in. So first thing I wrote here, I says, this debacle has the country divided. One side wants the American worker to come first, while the other wants the foreign skilled worker to come first. I know this is a very touchy topic. And again, subjectively speaking, you know, being influenced by my personal opinions and feelings, yes, I personally, my personal opinion is feeling like, yes, I do feel upset that as a quote unquote American citizen, that we are overlooked for jobs in America, because the companies hiring for these jobs believe that we as American citizens aren't quote unquote competent enough to be in these jobs. Personally, I feel some kind of, but objectively, they're correct. No, regardless of how I feel about it, the companies are 100% correct. The American citizen, the average American citizen, does not have the skill set nor the competency to perform these highly skilled tech jobs. We don't. That's just the reality of the situation. We don't have it. Yes, I do believe that the American worker needs to come first in America. You know, I do believe that. But I also understand that, you know, the American educational system is not preparing American citizens for jobs of the future. We're not. We are preparing, you know, our educational system today is designed to help the kids, quote unquote, pass a standardized test so that they can get into a college and then pay their tuition to get these degrees in business, because business is the most popular degree in America that most people get a degree. No matter where you go, business is number one. So it's kind of interesting that, you know, business is the number one degree, yet Americans still don't understand how business is conducted in America. It's like, even, you know, every day I'm learning something new about how business is done in America, about how this world works in America. And I always feel lost at times because I felt confident and sure of myself that I had learned what it was. And then the next day it's just like, oh, there's a whole nother level. Oh, there's a whole nother layer. And, you know, so I can only imagine what it's like for an individual that ain't even aware of what's happening. who's just following the American dream, just going to school. They got good grades, they went to college, they got good grades, they graduated, and now they're trying to get a job. But the reality is, marketable skills matter, you know what I'm saying? Like, you gotta have a job that matters. You gotta be doing something that matters. You gotta be doing something that moves the economy forward. And quite frankly, feeling personal happiness and having fun, that doesn't move the economy forward when it comes to, the actual infrastructure required to move the economy forward, to move the country forward. And unfortunately, it's like we don't prioritize that in America. Like I said before, our most popular degree is business, but we truly don't understand, how business is conducted in America. And it's showing, with the behaviors of the people in regards to this H1B visa situation. Like, we don't understand how business is done, because what I realized was America's, we always hear about America's interest, but what is America's interest? From what I can gather, it appears that my theory, it appears America's interest is corporate profit. In order for corporations to profit year over year over year, there has to be some sort of social engineering. Like I said, there has to be some level of programming in place. There has to be. Think about it. Like, there's no way you can get people to spend money without doing something that makes them feel sure that they need to be spending money the way that we spend money. And the way that we don't prioritize education so that we could get jobs, so that we could just spend money. Because I saw a video of a young lady. She was talking about how, Vivek doesn't understand how, no matter how hard, in so many words, no matter what he does or how hard he tries, to integrate and assimilate into a white American society, as far as white America is concerned, he's still not going to be a white American. And she's very true. And yes. And she was saying how these companies are going over and trying to bring in these foreign workers to cheapen labor for the American, for Americans. And yes, I would agree with her. Like, that's what it looks like to me. However, the reality of the situation always is going to come back to the companies are going to be the companies. They're not going to go out of business because American workers feel like they deserve more. All we're seeing here is just companies focused on what to do next. It's like, so these companies got a vision. We have to achieve corporate profits for our shareholders. We have to do this. You know what I'm saying? Like, we have to. Every year, like I said, that's America's interest, corporate. So it's like every year we're focused on all these boards and all these companies. Like, yes, it's how do we make more money and spend less money? And understanding that labor is always a company's biggest expense item. So that's, yes, going to always be the first line item that they're going to look to trim from is labor. So it's just like, yes, it's just like, yes, these visas are a way to cheapen labor. Yes, these visas are ways for these corporations to do these, things. However, when I was doing some research, what I found out was that there's only the H1B visa is capped at 65,000 per fiscal year. So there can only be, so if America, Mr. Musk could have it his way, he can only bring in 65,000 people a year. Let's just say they all brought them all. That's 65,000. But here's the catch. When I was looking online, it said that there are currently north of 215,000 open tech jobs. And that was via a site called trueup.io. They basically keep track of all that stuff. So basically, even if all 65,000 were to come in, so 215 minus 65, that means that the American tech job market would still have 150,000 openings. And unfortunately, the American worker is not competent and skilled enough to fill the position. So what are these companies going to do? What are they going to do? They've already got in all the H1B visas that they can. They capped out at 65 bands. They can't bring them in no more. And so we still 150,000 short. So what are they going to do? What can we do? What are they supposed to do? What do you believe they need to do? They're going to do what they're going to do. Because, again, they're got to make profit for our shareholders, which means that we got to minimize expenses. And seeing as how labor is our biggest expense item, then we're going to trim there. I always trim there first. But, we still need good talent. We still need competent and talented workers. So, like you said, that's why they bring it in the foreign. That's one of the main reasons why. So it's like, yeah, we can't complain as Americans about, the country, us, this H1B1 fiasco, H1B fiasco, yet we're not even as Americans trying to take the steps to skill up. We're not even trying to do what it takes so that these companies don't have to go overseas and import foreigners to come into this country to work. So H1B is a visa for that. Yes, the H1B is because I was in these digital streets this morning, so I saw a tweet where a guy said, America as a country was founded in 1776, but the H1B visa, it was created in 1990, and because someone was trying to say how the H1B visa was the reason why America is what made America great. But then this gentleman's point being like, well, the thing is what, 90s, 2000s, 2010s. So it's 30 years. It has been roughly about 30 years since this H1B visa has even been a concept. So we're only seeing this in the last, it's only been around for 30 years. So it ain't been responsible for that much, quote unquote, greatness in America. But nevertheless, it is a tool that companies use. Like you said, you got to remember, like, what is America's interest? Corporate profits. How do corporations continue to increase their profits? Obviously, they got to sell stuff, get more money. But one of the first things they do, they want to, keep expenses low, and labor is that biggest expense. So they cut that. They cut it from the American worker, quote unquote. And yes, they do import the foreign worker to come in. To come and work. So the foreign worker typically is typically more skilled, more competent than the American worker. And because they do come from a society or an economic system that is lower than America in regards to, what is capable, then yes, they are typically willing to quote unquote work for less. But you gotta understand, I don't know what the exchange rates, because India seems to be the country of focus. I don't know what the exchange rate in Turkey is, but in India is. But let's just say if I'm a software engineer in India, and I can only make 30 U.S. American dollars a year, and even in India that might be a good living or it might not be, but nevertheless I can make 30 as a software engineer. I can make 30 bands in India. But then in America, that same software engineer position is paying, let's just say, $150,000. But as an immigrant coming over, but like I said, these companies are the ones, implementing this H1B. So it's like, well, damn, I can go to India and find a kid or someone who's just as good or better than the American tech worker that I'm paying $150,000 for per year. I can pay this Indian guy $75,000. I can pay him half of what I'm paying this American guy. I could pay them half, 75. And the Indian worker is like, that's a raise. I'm going from 30 bands to 75. Sign me up. Where do I come? Run me that. You know what I'm saying? Now, the American worker is looking like, no, don't. You're cheapening labor, bro. Like, don't take that job. Like, they were paying me $150. Now you're taking the job for basically half of that. So you're you're messing it up for all of us. You know what I'm saying? But the reality is just like we as Americans, we really truly don't understand the country we live in. That's what I'm learning here. Those are my takeaways. We don't understand what we're doing. We don't understand the country that we live in. We don't understand the laws. We don't understand the policies. We don't understand the interests. We're just here as American citizens, feeling great because we're just being told that we're great, but without us ever doing any sort of education or research to really see our performance compared to these other countries in the world. Because again, we as human beings, we're fascinating at keeping records, and so again, we track everything, and so we track reading level, for example, and America. You would think that America will be number one you would think America is number one in every academic and scholastic category across the board, but we're not. We're not even close. But you think you could be able to tell an American that got a degree from one of these universities that they not educated? I just made a post recently. I said, you can be educated and still not be educated. And a lot of Americans are educated and not educated. And they're not educated because they think that simply obtaining a degree is what makes them educated. They don't understand that, no. There's plenty of people that got degrees that aren't educated. Why? Because, again, they can't even hold a conversation. They can't communicate effectively. They can't think critically or creatively. They can't even, what was the other one they said? They can't even, they can't think creatively. They can't problem solve. They have a limited domain of knowledge and information, but they do got a degree. They was able to cram, to pass some tests over the course of 4 to 6 years to obtain this bachelor's degree, whatever they got, or this master's, whatever. But it's like you can't even have a conversation with them about something, about a topic about the H1B visa without them feeling emotional, but getting in their feelings about it. Because again, they have no objectivity to them, because again, they never learned how to think. They've been in school their whole lives, but they never learned how to think. So it's like they only know how to think within the box that was given to them by the world. So their whole life is just this box. So everything outside the box to them is, that's why whenever you're talking, what I'm saying, you might, you understand this, Sean, but it's like, if you actually read books and you actually study, you actually do your own independent research, then when you go back to your peoples and you just having a conversation about this stuff, they're looking at you like you're crazy, because the knowledge that you're spitting is coming from outside the box, which to them, there's nothing that exists outside of the box that they were given. So it's just like, you're crazy. They will label you as a radical, a revolution. Like I said, that's why I love Malcolm X's book, The Autobiography of Malcolm X, so much. And I would encourage you all to read that. At least every black man in America, every Afro-American man in America, you need to read that book at least once a year, because everything we talking about is everything Malcolm X already went through. And he already left us the blueprint of how to overcome it. Very dangerous book. Like, all the answers are in that book right there. Even this point about Vivek, trying to integrate into white American society. Like I said, Malcolm X already talked about that, because I think you just got to read the book. But yeah, bro, all the answers are already here for us, especially as Afro Americans. But we just got to be willing to take ownership, take control, and not be victims to this hidden hand that's pulling these strings. We're just a little puppet, and the puppet master is just having us dancing, how they want us dancing. But, the strings just connecting, that this hidden hand is up here, and we just, down here, thinking. But that's the irony of it all. Down here, the hidden hand is manipulating the strings and everything. But down here where we're at, we think that we're deciding to do these things. And it's like, no, we're not. You know what I'm saying? Real quick on that point, and it's called the anatomy of decision making. Like I said, there's an anatomy to decision making. And just to be super quick, real quick on this concept, it was basically two lanes. We make decisions two ways. And it's through the central route, which is all about logic and evaluating things, so evidence, facts, all that stuff. And then it's the peripheral route, which is all about gut feelings and emotional triggers. Now, persuasion happens a lot easier and faster on the peripheral route than the central route. So, for example, if a parent is trying to get their kids to eat they vegetables, they'll try to persuade the kid using the central route of logic and evidence. Oh, you need to eat your vegetables, little Jimmy. It's gonna allow you to be healthy. And then if that route doesn't work, then they go to they'll try to bribe the kid, which is the next central route try. Like, oh, well, if you eat your vegetables, I'll let you have a extra scoop of ice cream. And if that don't work, then they try to just make a threat. Like, oh, well, if you don't eat your vegetables, then, I'm gonna, you're not gonna be able to go outside tomorrow and play with Timmy. And that still don't work. So now what the parent gotta do? But what the parent isn't understanding is that you don't have your kid not eating vegetable problem. You as the parent, you got a messaging problem. Like, you don't understand how to use your voice, your words to like you said, communicate effectively to get the outcome that you want. You don't understand that you have to persuade this kid, and you can't persuade them through the central route of logic and evaluating. Because again, the kid they not there yet. Logically speaking, there's no rationale to a little boy that don't want eat his broccoli. You know what I'm saying? So what you got to do is you got to come from the peripheral route. You got to come from the perspective of, like you said, of gut instincts and emotional triggers. So, for example, little Jimmy, he doesn't want to eat the broccoli, but then you notice that their older brother John, little Timmy is always trying to beat John to do it at anything they got going on. You know what I'm saying? If it's going outside, if it's going to go wash their hands for dinner, if it's going to room to get ready for bed, you notice. So you got to start, to manipulate, not manipulate, but their perception is manipulation. But it all comes back to intent. So is your intent to illuminate their potential, or is your intent to exploit their blind spot? So yes, you can manipulate to illuminate them, or you can manipulate them to exploit them. So that's the difference here. So yes, perception is manipulation. But again, back to the example. So how do you get little Jimmy to eat the vegetables, the broccoli? You don't come at him from the central route of logic and facts and everything like that. You got to come from him from the peripheral route, where it's, oh, you know what, little Jimmy, I noticed that you're always losing to your older brother. Like, when you guys are racing, playing outside, like, do you like losing? Nah, I wanna beat this guy, Well, if you're looking kind of slow. You're not looking real strong. Do you think if you were stronger and had more energy and a little bit more strength, you think you could be able to beat your brother? Yeah. Well, how do you think, little Timmy, you can get stronger and have more energy and power to beat your brother? I don't know. Then they'll be like, you could be like, I've heard that, eating vegetables is a good way to, make yourself stronger, to improve your abilities. You can get stronger, you can get faster, you can get quicker. I've heard, that vegetables have that type of effect on you, little Timmy. So what do you think you can do in order to beat your brother if you need to be stronger, faster, and better? Like, I should probably, Unc, I should probably eat my vegetables. You think so, little Jimmy? Yeah, because if I eat my vegetables, then that means that I'm going to be able to be stronger and quicker. And then so now you've just manipulated and persuaded little Jimmy to eat their vegetables, and it was his decision. Like I said, you didn't do anything but re-engineer the narrative in a sense. You just re-engineered the narrative and you changed your strategy. So you went from focusing on logic, the central route of him needing to be eat these vegetables so he can be healthy. You just pivoted from that to more so like I said, you made it so you it's like you struck his soul. You start talking to his soul, not his mind, but his soul, in that you identify something that he wanted to do. He wants to beat his older sibling, but he ain't able to do that. So you just showed him how to beat it. So ultimately, the easiest way to persuade or manipulate people to illuminate their potential, not to exploit their blind spots, is to make them the hero of their story, and then you just have to use your idea as the sword that they use to chop down the villain of their story. Like, that's it. Like, that's how you do it. So if you're that parent, or if you're that business leader, or that's that husband, that wife, or anybody, any position, any relationship, like, you gotta stop your ego's desire to be the hero in all cases, and you gotta just be the guide if you want to get people to do stuff if you want them if you want to persuade and manipulate them into doing things that illuminate their potential, not exploit their blind spots, you have to take the steps required to make that happen. And you do that, again, by focusing on the peripheral route. Healthy food choices, and so, seed of confidence, right? So again, you was able to do that not by coming at little Timmy, from the central route, which is all about logic, and you're just trying to, because again, you're thinking logically, but again, little Timmy ain't developed there. He ain't competent like that yet. You know what I'm saying? He not operating off logic. Little Timmy is still developing, so he's still operating off of so that's what. So I learned this recently, bro. It said what are humans driven by? Humans are driven by stories, feelings, and emotional triggers. So again, the peripheral route, like that's the secret pathway to persuade people into doing whatever you want them to do. And not only you get them to do whatever you want to do, but it'll be their decision to do it, because again, you're not necessarily telling them to do something. You're just reframing the narrative to make them see how what you want them to do is going to help them do what they want to do. That's how you do it. So back to the point. So I kind of went off on that tangent just to talk about how, again, there's a hidden hand called, algorithms, called marketing campaigns, called, the TV, and all this stuff. That's the hidden hand that's pulling these strings that got us thinking that we're making decisions, but we're not necessarily making these decisions. It's an illusion of choice, because all the decisions that we're thinking of making were implanted in our minds. That seed was planted through some form of persuasion or manipulation that was already in the world prior to us coming to make this decision. So, for example, my decision to wear this specific style of eyewear, I didn't necessarily decide to get to do this, to select this style of frame. There was already something in the world around me, in my world, that was already there, that when I saw this specific style of glasses, I felt good that they would make me look good, and so that's why I got them. But it wasn't because I made so again, my decision to buy these, it didn't go through the central route. It went through the peripheral route. So that was like a big aha I had recently, was kind of coming to the realization that, as men, we like to say women are emotional, but the reality is no, human beings are emotional, males included. The difference is in how we are expressing these emotions. Because again, as men, I will go 90 to 95% of our decisions are purely made through the peripheral route. They're not made through the central route, even though as men, we like to pride ourselves that, we are so big on logic and reason and rationale. But the reality is we're just as emotional as women. We're just as emotional or more emotional than the women that we claim are emotional. But again, when we're saying people are emotional, what are we really saying? Because when I'm saying we're emotional, I'm saying again that the human being is energy in motion, emotion, energy, energy in motion, energy, motion, energy in motion. Like we are that, you know what I'm saying? So understand, you know what I'm saying? You have a decision to make. So you could be the puppet master or you could be the puppet is ultimately what I'm getting at. And so how does this all come back to that H1B visa fiasco? As an American, we can only be upset at ourselves for this going down the way it's been going down and for us having this shortage in skilled labor, specifically when it comes to tech. Because the reality of the situation is that, tech is the future. The world is getting more digital. It's not getting less digital. So that means that the jobs of the future are going to be tech-based, whether it's hardware or software. So right now, instead of focusing on making sure that, your kid, is competent enough to pass, the state standardized test so they can, pass the SAT, pass the state test so they can go to getting into some college so that they can just get some degrees, most likely in business, to then just be out here in the real world, trying to get a job and, not making it happen. And then instead of taking responsibility for the decisions that we've made, we want to just try to point the finger and blame, the government or these foreigners for why we as Americans aren't able to live the life that we want to live. Like we have to take ownership of our lives and our decisions that we've made. Because until we take ownership and we keep forfeiting the responsibility, then we'll never have the power to transform our situation. So again, we have to stop prioritizing feeling happy and having fun over having the marketable skill sets that are going to be needed to fill these jobs of the future. I just always I think it's fascinating how, a parent, I remember when I worked in education, just how many parents, this is like, and I saw it, this is back in like 2007, 8, 9. I remember seeing it back then. I remember seeing quote unquote the foreign kids, the parents of the foreign kids were very adamant and matter of fact about the kids' education. You know what I'm saying? Am I doing enough as a parent? And are there any programs that I can have a kid involved with? I know my kid is struggling in math. I need you to make sure that they don't go outside during recess time. I want them to make sure that they get this math, they understand this because, they need to know this. I remember that, from the quote unquote foreign parents. But for the American-based parents, regardless of ethnicity, it was just, there was never any conversations about the kids' education. The parent was never concerned, rarely concerned, I should say. Only time the parent was concerned is if it was just like, oh, little Samantha's been, disruptive in class and she wants to let you know, like, and then, that's the only time the parent really said anything. But just as far as just the game of parenting in regards to making sure that you equipping your kids what they gonna need to have in order to be successful in life and in their adulthood and in the future, there's no concern. So again, we've prioritized feeling happy and having fun over having marketable skills that support the lifestyles we've been programmed to want, and that grows the economy. So the power is in our hands, ladies and gentlemen. It's up to us. Like, we decide our fates. The government doesn't decide our fate. Foreign workers don't decide our fate. Corporations don't decide our fate. Like, we as individuals decide our fate if we are willing to be the puppet master and not the puppet. The job of the puppet is easy. It's easy to be the puppet, you know what I'm saying? But to be that puppet master, it requires more. So if you are being a puppet and you're mad about how everything is looking out here, you have yourself to be upset at, because you're choosing to be a puppet as opposed to being the puppet master of your own life. You feel me? So be the puppet master of your own life. Don't allow them, and by them again, that hidden hand, the algorithms, the marketing campaigns. Because you gotta understand, there's, like I said earlier in the video, our mind is a battlefield of attention, and every company, every corporation on earth is gearing up every day to go to war for our attention. And if we aren't conscious of that, then we're going to be giving our attention to things that don't serve us. They serve them, but they don't serve us. Because again, Chevy might do a good enough persuasion job to get you to feel good about buying that new car, but you didn't need that new car. But you bought that new car not because, again, you went through some central route some evaluation when it came to the anatomy of how you came to that decision. You did that purely out of the peripheral route. It was purely gut instincts and emotional triggers. Like, that's it. But again, you got to understand that these corporations, they understand this about you. They know what you're, like I said, they know you're driven by stories. And pay attention to this one thing moving forward. Just start making a mental note of anytime you're looking at TV or anything you're doing in life. It's like a story, you feel me? Like, if the person is telling you a story, then I'm willing to bet that there's some level of persuasion and manipulation going on there. But there's the thing: is the persuasion and manipulation being done to illuminate your potential, or is it being done to exploit your blind spots? That's the kicker. So next, we feel great, yet our performance reviews say we are mediocre at best. So I understand we feel good that being Americans, we're the number one country in the world and no one that can compare to us. But the reality of the situation is, when it actually comes to the data, because again, we keep track of all these things. Like, America is not number one when it comes to reading. We're not number one when it comes to writing. We're not number one when it comes to mathematics. We're not. So we're not as great as we think we are. And in order for us to be great, we're going to have to skill up. We're going to have to start focusing on the things that matter most. Like Vivek was saying, like, a culture that celebrates prom kings, prom queens, and jocks over, the valedictorian or the spelling bee champion, is doomed for failure. You're doomed for mediocrity. Like, it's inevitable at the end of the day. So we have to just develop a higher standard for ourselves, specifically when it comes to our education and our desire to be productive in this world. You feel me? Like, we have to make that decision for ourselves. Like, we can't expect somebody else to do these things for us or to give these things to us. Like, we have to go take this shit. You feel me? Like, ain't nothing handed to you. Ain't like, because you got to go take it. You feel me? And so, and again, taking it ain't necessarily a violent act per se, but I guess it will be a violent act to the companies, because again, you're taking their profit away. But again, you're in the driver's seat, ladies and gentlemen. You have the keys, American citizen. So if you're upset about this H1B visa situation and these corporations importing these foreign workers and choosing them over the American worker first, then we only have ourselves, because we either voted for these policies to be done, whether it was us or our parents or our grandparents. Like I said, as an American citizen, these are things we voted for, or we voted to put the people in positions to do these things. So like I said, we are responsible as a citizen. So again, we got to tighten up, we got to smarten up, we got to skill up. It's on us at this point. And we see it, you know what I mean? Like, whether you're black, white, Indian, Hispanic, Asian, doesn't matter, you know what I'm saying? Now it's no longer a ethnic thing, and it's an American foreigner thing now. It was in America, it was, for the most part, black and white. Now it's American versus foreigner. So tighten up, get with the times. So again, we have to transform who we want to be and not just change what we do. So in order to do something new, in order to create a better future for ourselves, it can't come from being who we are right now. Because again, if being the American culture that we are right now is just going to produce more of what we don't want. So we're going to have to, in a sense, reimagine American culture and invent a future American culture that is sustainable, that does put the American worker first. We have to formulate that vision and then come from that in order to move toward that. But again, that's going to come from us transforming. We got to transform. We just can't change. All right. Next, we can fix this by inventing a future vision that supports our goals of the American workers coming first over the foreign workers, like I just said. If Americans want American workers to come first, then we have to start prioritizing American workers. And this can't happen, after when the kid or when the American worker is submitting a resume or they're in the seat to conduct their interview. Like, we have to start sooner rather than later. I saw a video recently. I believe it was a video my brother was telling me about, where it was a Afro-American man. He was talking about how he was out at the park, and in so many words, a guy that was at the park was asking him, what his daughter was going to be when she grew up in the Afro-American, and it was a non-African American man, but we'll just say a white guy. So there was a white man, and then there was an Afro-American man. So the white man is asking the Afro-American man, like, what is your daughter going to be when she grows up? And the Afro-American man is like, whatever she wants to be. And then, he was like, the white guy kind of like looks at him. He was like, well, you do know that could be nothing. And then the Afro-American man was like, at first he was a little, pressed. He was a little tight. But then after he said he thought about it for a second, he was just like, yeah, the white man this white dude is on to something. Because then the white guy goes on to say that, like, yeah, I knew my son was going to be a doctor before he was born, because that's what I planned for him to be. It was just like, if a parent ain't planning for what their kid is going to be in the future, then that means that the kid could be nothing. And it's like, I don't think we take that into consideration. Like, I don't have children of my own. I got nieces and nephews. And again, I've worked in education. And, I had to kind of like think back and on my own. And like, yeah, I'm guilty of that myself, because I've said that. Like, oh, the kid could be whatever they want to be. But again, what if that's part of the psyop? Now I'm going a little conspiracy theories diesel here. Like, what if that's part of their game? What if part of their game is to make their citizen prioritize individualism to the point where the sole priority becomes personal success and gratification? What if us saying that, you can be anything you want to be? What if that is the psyops that gets people to do nothing? Hey, yeah, you got to go do that, my guy. Holla. But again, what if that is the psyop? You feel me? What if the psyop was to get the American citizen to the point where they prioritized, like I said, personal success and gratification over everything else, and the desire to do and be anything that they wanted to be? What if that's the psyop? Like, what if that's the game? You feel me? What if that's like? But again, the hidden hand. Like, what? It's just like, unfortunately, there's no way of really figuring out if what is and what's not. You know what I'm saying? All we do have is just observable reality. But think about it. That's all I'm gonna just say. Think about it. So again, we as Americans have to reimagine what we want our future to be. And once we, invent that future for ourselves, then we have to now start doing the things today to make that future a reality into the in the future. All right. So again, we can fix this. We just need a better vision. And so again, the American dream, that's a paradigm, it's a vision. It ain't dreaming no more. We need to reevaluate it, you know, and it's not necessarily a getting rid of it, but again, it's just reimagining this American dream and then inventing a new one. All right. Last but not least, we will have to sacrifice our American culture of division and mediocrity and replace it with one fueled by collectivism and excellence. So again, none of what we've been talking about today is going to happen if we continue to be the America that is built on division and mediocrity. You know, quote unquote, America once was great. And it had to have been great in some fashion in regards to just the ability to produce. Even though there were policies in place to keep a specific group down and slow them from excelling, not to stop them, but slow them down. Yes. Yet and still, we still standing. So again, we got to make sacrifices. And again, that biggest sacrifice is going to be American, what we know to believe is American culture. So this desire, you know, and again, like, so this consumerism, I need to sacrifice it. So again, we're sacrificing consumerism or the desire to buy all this stuff that the hidden hand is telling us that we need to buy before we make a decision to actually buy it. You know, we got to get control of that and start using it to our own advantage. So again, if we now know that tech jobs are going to be the jobs of the future, right now, if you're a parent or if you're an uncle or auntie, you got younger cousins, you know what I'm saying? We need to do everything we can to start skilling them up in tech. So from a hardware, so there's some basic tech fundamentals that every person needs to know, especially since we all using these devices, these smartphones, you know, these laptops. But we have to start skilling up now. We have to sacrifice. Like I said, so instead of Christmas being this time where we just buying all these gifts to have fun and to look good, i.e. I got the new drip, I got the new J's, I got the new whatever the hot brands are right now. Instead of us focusing on that kind of stuff, we need to focus on, little Timmy needs to be in this STEM program. Little Samantha needs to be in this STEM program. They're going to STEM camp this summer. You know, like, oh, I got them in this program, this year-round program where they just do STEM stuff every week. You know, they meet with their group, like, and again, we have to start skilling up these kids now. You feel me? Like so if you got kids, again, you got to make the sacrifice of believing that, you know, I want my kids just to have everything I didn't have. I agree with you right there, but one of the things you didn't have was clarity, career clarity. Give them that. One of the things you didn't have was a mentor or adult, in a sense, giving you the game as to like what a Big Sosa, giving you the game as far as what's to come, like what's to come in the future. You feel me? Like what life has in store for you. Like, give them that clarity. You know, give them the skills that they need to not just get a job, but to just to be a senior level executive at whatever it is they want to do. You know, prepare them. Don't just think that their childhood is supposed to be full of fun and feeling good. Going to Disneyland, Magic Mountain, like you said. I remember growing up, every year we went to Disneyland. Every year, you know, we went to every weekend we would go out to eat. You know, I had a lot of fun growing up. I did. I got a lot of stuff growing up. I got a lot of Jordans. I got a lot of clothes. I got a lot of stuff. But one thing I didn't get was clarity, career clarity. That's what I didn't get. I did not get career clarity. I never got it. I only got it after I graduated from college and then spent the next decade and a half trying to understand, like, why am I not able to produce the outcomes I want for myself in life? Like, I've been told I was smart, all these things, but I can't make it happen. Like, what's happening? Then I realized through my enlightenment journey that I was my problem. And until I decided to change, not until I decided to transform who I was being so I can do better stuff, I was going to always produce the same outcomes that I've been producing. So be, sacrifice and be. So all in all, to wrap things up, the H1B visa fiasco. Final words. I do believe the American worker comes first as an American citizen myself. However, I do understand that America's interest is corporate profit. And in order for corporations to profit, they have to minimize expenses, raise prices, increase revenue, minimize expenses. And one of the biggest expenses on every corporation's income statement is going to be labor. So labor is always going to be the first point of attack that corporations are going to try to trim from in order to be more profitable. And one way that they do that is with the H1B visa, by importing workers to come to America that are talented, that are skilled, but yes, they are willing to take a smaller paycheck compared to the American worker of the comparable American worker. And so, yes, I do believe that is quote unquote wrong. However, I understand why these corporations are able to do it, because we as American citizens have not prioritized taking the steps required in order to be the type of person, to be the talented candidate that these companies want to hire. So it's on us. All right. So skill up, America. It's on us now. We can't claim that the foreigners are the reason. First it was, America, specifically white America. First it was us. It was the black people. We were the reason why you guys couldn't, quote unquote, do what you wanted to do. But going into 2025, now it's the foreigners. The foreigners are the reasons why y'all can't do what y'all want to do. So y'all got to figure it out, because if y'all don't, then who y'all gonna point the finger? Who y'all gonna blame next? My advice to you guys is to stop blaming people, and if you still want to insist on blaming somebody, you gotta realize that there's 3 fingers pointed back at you, maybe 4. So you're your problem. You are why you are upset right now, not the foreigners. All right. So all in all, to all my American citizens out there, it's on all of us to make any one of us successful. So we have to skill up, and we got to do that, now. So we need to start planning out our kids' futures, specifically giving them that career clarity. Like, you're going to be a senior level cybersecurity executive at some company when you become an adult. You know what I'm saying? That's a decision. That's the kind of conversation we need to start having with our children, our nieces, our nephews. If you want to have a fighting chance, as they would say. So on that note, it was a pleasure. Thanks for tuning in. Looking forward to doing more of these with you guys. Peace. Now let's see how we end this.